What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and in today's video we're taking a look at Atlanta's very own Homixide Gang and some dope rock-inspired merch supporting their latest album, I5, U5, We5. Now before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to the homie Strain Beats who's been cooking up the beats for these videos, so make sure you guys check them out. And while you're here, you might as well drop a like and subscribe and join our free Discord to stay up to date with the latest and the greatest. Shout out to all of my chefs in there. Now for today's video, I'll be talking about the Atlanta-based duo Homixide Gang, who is of course signed to playboicarti's Opium label. And if the album art itself didn't give you an idea of what to expect, the duo would go on to drop the following promotional video in support of their newly released third studio album, I5, U5, We5. And even if you haven't yet heard a single song from this album, you can definitely tell the type of tone that the boys are trying to create on this one. Now, before diving into the merch review, I do also want to acknowledge the very heavy Slipknot inspiration that we see throughout this project, so shout out to the duo for doing something different, and as a metalhead, it makes me even more excited for the project as well as the merch. So with that being said, I wanted to highlight the overall experience when going through this merch collection, starting off on the Homixide Gang website, as oftentimes you don't see many artists put some effort into the website itself. So anytime I see something creative like this, I think it's worth mentioning and pointing out. Which sees us now at the start of this merch collection, starting things off with the following Homixide Gang layered football jersey, running you a cool $100. And while I do appreciate that they're communicating that all of these pieces in this collection are simply a pre-order, unfortunately neither clicking on the item itself or anywhere else throughout this collection do they give any indication on when these pieces will start shipping. So with that being said, I'd say buyers beware and just hope that they arrive sooner rather than later. We keeping it positive out here. Now to follow up that football jersey, we of course have the following matching set between the sweatpants for $90 and the hoodie for $100, which features a dope stylized logo which I honestly really mess with. And if rocking that matching set isn't your style, there would of course be some variety in the form of this t-shirt as well as this tank top, with the price of both pieces mirroring most artist merch drops. Now as far as my favorite piece from this collection, it's definitely this barbed wire layered tee, which is gonna run you a cool $65. And while I might be totally off and this might be a reach, this piece is giving me some heavy D-Generation X or DX vibes from the WWF era. And if you couldn't tell what I'm talking about, it's specifically that logo right there that you'll see used on the barbed wire here at the top of the piece. And to follow that piece up, we have the following raw hem tee, which is gonna run you $65, notably featuring a dope Homixide Gang heavy metal logo. Now to wrap up this pre-order collection, we have the following motocross gloves, which is a common theme we've seen other Opium artists employ. And for the final piece of this collection, we have the following bandana, which honestly is aesthetically pretty hard on its own. Now with all that being said, I have to say I honestly really dig this collection as someone that grew up a metalhead and honestly really loves the overall aesthetic and direction for this third album. And while I know the rock and metal communities tend to heavily gatekeep their culture, I really think Homixide Gang did a good job with the Slipknot inspiration and capturing the overall feel and vibe of this one. Now like I mentioned earlier in the video, other Opium label mates such as Destroy Lonely and Carti himself have been spotted wearing motocross inspired outfits for the last couple of months, so I think it goes hand in hand to see that influence even on Homixide Gang's merch collection and overall aesthetic. And it was while I was doing the research for this video and looking at their past merch drops that I really get the sense that their biggest inspirations for both aesthetic and sound have to do with not only Carti, but as well as the metal culture and maybe even wrestling in WWE yet again. Now if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching, and I'd love to know what you guys think about this collection in the comments. Overall, I think that the aesthetic is definitely inspired by the rock and metal culture, and while I'm not trying to say that there's any inspiration here, I think it's interesting how we're seeing other artists also borrow similar inspiration, such as Don Toliver here, who I recently covered, who's currently in an aesthetic circling around the biker culture with some other metal themes thrown in as well. Now, as always, if you're looking for some dope quality merch that's not going to take 3 to 4 months to arrive, but also has that metal aesthetic, head on over to my website at wedontcookfood.com. And speaking of Slipknot from earlier in the video, if you're curious about their beef with none other than Kanye West, I'll go ahead and include that video in the description. Now, as always, thank you guys so much for cooking with the kitchen, and I'd love to know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Overall, I love the aesthetic and direction of this collection as well as the album, and I think that Homixide Gang has a good opportunity here to fill the void that playboicarti has left in the absence of not dropping any new music or any new merch in the last couple of months. Now, as always guys, thank you so much for cooking with the kitchen. Let me know if you picked up any of these pieces in the comments. Remember to stay safe out there as always, and remember, it's lit straight up and peace.